it's sad how a tragedy brings people together.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm hoping to do that more often. Like, let's not do it when someone dies or something like that.
Yeah,
So.
like something that I kind of, after that episode that we shot, there was a couple family reunions, family gatherings, and I've noticed how much tension there is sometimes, even amongst my own family.
Yeah.
And life's too short for that type of stuff, right? Like, I know that people have differences and people have gone and taken their own separate routes, and maybe some people feel entitled to certain other people's successes or time or whatever it may be, and some people may be in better places than others. But I think in the common thread of being a family member or a friend and things like that, you shouldn't wait till a disaster to bring people together. It should be one of those things that, if somebody's more successful than you, or you deem them to be more successful than you, why hate on them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Ask them questions. Yo, how did you get there? And I'm sure that person would be much willing, rather than you thinking that you hate them or whatever it may be, like, or you hating on them or talking behind their back. They'd be very willing to help you out.
Yeah,
right? Instead of waiting for those moments where you're making like sneaky remarks and things like that, right? Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
it really isn't worth it, right? Because all you're gonna do is sound like a hater. You're gonna look sad, and all you're gonna do is make yourself get wrinkles and be resentful towards the person that person may not even know that you're being resentful towards them, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I often say that, it's lonely at the top, not because there's not that many people there, but because there's not many people who are willing to do the things that's required to get there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the saddest thing, at least in my community, because I want everybody to kind of rise together, but I understand what it takes in order for you to rise. And it's a sacrifice, right? It's like, instead of you not being in bed or you not being able to go to brunch on weekends, like, look what me and Mike are doing right now. It's a Saturday afternoon. We could be outside doing whatever we need to do, but we're here focused between our jobs, this podcast, and we're not staying in Miami that long for it to be a vacation. Like,
exactly.
One night and then we out of here, right? Like, so I think that when people think about that stuff, they could be like, well, toxic grind, like, why are you guys promoting that type of stuff? It's not that. It's sort of like, you have to do what's necessary in order for you to get to a place where, you stop and relax. There may be points in this podcast's journey where we may reach certain pinnacles, and either me or Mike might be like, yo, this is as far as I want to take it, right? Whether it's like, like, not everybody has an unlimited amount of energy to keep going, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all human. We're all going to stop at one point, and then one day you have to stop at the point where you feel is necessary, or you feel it's best for you to really enjoy the fruits of your labor. But I think that people look down on people who have this, like, sort of like grind it till you got to make it mentality. It's a balance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an imbalance for certain periods, but it's a balance.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance, and to me, it's more so, I don't even look at it as kind of toxic grind, especially like if you have a vision and you're doing it for the right reasons, the hard work is, I don't have a name for it, but it's just something different,
It's necessary.
Yeah,
it's a necessary component. It's a necessary component of everything that you want to achieve, right? Like, I don't have a trust fund. From what I know, you don't got a trust fund, right? Like, I don't have. I am my own plan B. I am my own retirement. So everything that I've done in my life is because of a vision that I have, and it's not for fancy cars and big houses. I mean, yeah, that may be a byproduct of my hard work and my success, but it's really for my own self gratification, for the successes of my own children, my next of kin, and also for my family. I want my family to be also doing good for themselves, because if I do well, then what's the point of all this, all these successes, if I can't enjoy it with certain other people? With that being said, even if I get to a place where I can, like, literally solve everybody's problem at the, at a flick of a dime, or, whatever it may be, it doesn't mean that I'm going to do that, because what I would do is allow them to give them the tools for them to develop the habits to get to the place where they need to be.
Yeah.
And just them having that is enough of a help, and people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Right? Having that plug, having that connection, having that having that foot within the door is the plug, is the help.
Exactly.
Some people just want the money or the end result. The end result is just a cherry on top. The work is where you develop the habits and the longevity.
Exactly. And with that, I feel like I think the theme that I have for this month is just communication, in business, in your professional life, and then just in your personal life as well. And I've seen it where if you don't communicate your needs or what you require, what you want, we talked about it earlier, you build up that resentment, and it comes out in unnecessary moments, and everyone in the room could kind of tell. you know.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that definitely just professionally, and then also recently, like, you know, family-wise, just lack of communication. And it's like things could be solved if it was just, you know.
Now, why is that though? Sometimes, like, I think I'm going to answer my own question, then I want to pass it on to you. Why do you think that people don't communicate effectively? And I want to pass it on to you first, and then I'll go ahead. So I changed my mind.
I think people are, and I don't know when this happens to me, people are afraid of the tough conversations. You know, people think that sometimes if you don't talk about something, it's just going to go away, or the problem is going to get solved automatically. And that never happens, almost never happens, you know. It's just going to be like the elephant in the room lingering around. So for me, when sometimes I fall into that habit of not wanting to have that tough conversation, that's when it's like, I'm not communicating correctly because I just don't want to face that right now. But I know myself, it's eventually going to happen. And it's like, why not just get through it immediately and just, you know, break down all those barriers.
I think people, like, piggybacking off of what you said, they want the truth, but they can't. It's like, it's just the corniest line, but they can't handle the actual substance of the truth, right? Everybody wants the truth in theory, but the reality is the truth, there's never a good way to deliver bad news, and there's never a good time to deliver bad news, right? Yeah. So when you're criticizing somebody or telling them something that they don't like, it's not going to often come with like, yeah, I love that, right? Me and you've had to have tough conversations within this own podcast, right? And I think, like, because of those conversations, now we're at a place where we can sort of like communicate without talking to each other. And look, life happens, right? Like, there's things that I usually pick up on, and like lately for the last week or so, I'll go ahead and be the first one. I've slacked because my job has been all-encompassing right now, but Mike's picked up the slack when I needed him to tell him to pick up the slack. I don't expect Mike to be reading my mind and say, hey, I think John wants me to pick up the slack, because I've developed the habit where I pick up certain things, you get certain things. But if I text Mike and tell him, hey, Mike, I need you to pick this up, he'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, exactly. Because it is what it is, instead of me assuming or waiting for him to do something. And I think even in relationships, whether it's platonic, romantic, whatever it may be, I am such a huge person in, you know, my biggest fault is actually having a lot of unspoken expectations of people, when I should just tell people, this is what I expect, this is what I want up front, so that there's no confusion as to what is it that I mean and what is it that I expect from the other person. And I have fallen into the trap of just staying quiet. And then when it gets to a point when I blow up, then I'm bringing things back up from like 8 months ago. And I should have said something, right? So, which is not fair to anybody, to me, to the person who I'm communicating to with, because all it does is doesn't add to any substance to the conversation. But with that being said, and I think wrapping it up again to the last flat out message, you have to have clarity in the path that you want to take forward, and that also has to start with clarity with the expectations that you have of yourself. Right. And that only comes with you sitting down and having a plan and having a conversation with yourself. Communication is the key to everything, right? Because if you don't plan, you're just planning to fail at this point. And I know that's super cliche, but it is true. Some of the most cliche lines, the simplest lines, are the things that are the most true. You have to have a plan, you have to have a vision, and you always have to effectively communicate, not just with external parties, but with yourself at all times. And I remember just last episode you said there's certain conversations you're not having with yourself, right? And that's okay. Even acknowledging that fact is fine. Yeah. But you're gonna have to have those conversations with yourself at one point, whether you like it or not, right? So I think that, you know, and a lot of issues can be solved by just effectively communicating. Yeah. There's just no reason for people to be sort of like just in a corner, letting things build up and not talking to people. So if you have anything you want to say, especially in our comments, leave them there. Don't text me and Mike. Don't text me and Mike. I get so many comments on a daily basis about our podcast. Yeah. And people don't leave comments on our social media pages. Yeah, help the algorithm out. Like, literally, like, that's the whole
exactly. Don't DM me, don't text me. It's like, leave it in the comments.
And
like,
then I'll text
and
you.
we're reading all comments at this point. Like,
we're reading.
We see them, like, you know.
We read them. We'll respond to some of them, and we'll text you if you want afterwards. Don't worry, we got you.